Okay, back with another mock draft. I've done this type of thing usually every year, and to be honest, it's always my most controversial video, or at least one of my most controversial videos. So I want to just explain what I'm doing, try to get ahead of some of the criticism. You can skip if you want to, and just go, fast forward until I get to the list. But essentially, let me just explain what I'm doing here. I am going to be controlling every single selection and doing what I genuinely would do if I was that team and I'm not allowed to trade it back. That's going to create some weird picks, although I do ultimately feel like if you got a bunch of NFL scouts and told them to be honest and fill out a list like this, you get a lot of crazy takes that, just like how some of my takes are going to seem crazy. So ultimately, that's just kind of how this evaluation process go. So while in reality, if I was working for an NFL team, I would listen to other people and, maybe give my pitch on why I think the person that I like should be that selection, but maybe go with the consensus. Here, it's all me, for better or worse. Let's get into the list. This is what I would do mock draft. At the very start, we don't quite have too many crazy takes. So Cam Ward is technically my number 2 prospect, but I just value quarterbacks so much. I still would take Cam Ward first overall, and I don't really buy into this, oh, well, Cam Ward is not really a great prospect, but he's the best quarterback available, so they're just going to take him. I think he's a great quarterback prospect. I think he's totally worth a first overall pick. Travis Hunter is good enough to make me think about it. He is, especially with the built-in fail-safe of if Hunter doesn't work at corner, you can try him at receiver. But ultimately, positional value for quarterback, go Ward 1. I still do go Hunter 2. And then for 3, you have to consider not taking Carter just because they do have, not just edge rushers, but I think, they probably still want to take the 5th-year option on Thibodeau. That's pretty good. But ultimately, I just don't think Kayvon Thibodeau, in the 3 years he's been a Giant, has played well enough to get the Giants to pass up on a player of Abdul Carter's talents. I just don't. I think what I probably do is do this and then try and trade Thibodeau. I think that's how I operate this. And maybe you just have Thibodeau for one more year, decline his 5th-year option, and move on from there. Although I try to trade him, I think, maybe even during that round, or maybe in between round 1 and round 2, get a second-round pick, something like that. Number 4 is where things get off the rails. What the hell is Jackson Kruger Sports thinking? Yes, that's my legal name, Jackson Kruger Sports, with Kelvin Banks Jr. at pick number 4. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, this is my logic. I mean, for one thing, I just really like him as a player. I don't get why people don't like him as much as a player as I do. I think he's worth a number 4 overall pick. This isn't a reach for need for me. He is my number 4th overall prospect, and the Patriots need offensive line help. So it's relatively simple for me. Now, again, I think most people like other players better. I will say I think there is a big drop-off from 3 to 4, and I do think a lot of these players behind Banks are in a similar tier, but ultimately, I'm cool with Banks at 4. Doubt this will actually happen, though. Mason Graham, that's the consensus. Most people think he will go 5th overall. I agree. I think that's a good choice. Helping out your defensive line. He's a really good player. He's one of the next best players on the board, in my opinion. Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Number 6, I am not going Ashton Jeanty this early. I like Ted McMillan. I think he's a really good player. And again, in this draft class, I think getting a receiver like that who could be a number 1, they can definitely find a place to put him in there. So I like that. And then Armand Menbu, who is another player that I really like and I think is worth a top 7 pick. He's probably going to go here at 7, and I think it would make sense. Finally, number 8, and I'm going to be honest, I am reaching a bit here. It's not a massive reach for me. I like Matthew Golden, and like I said, I don't love a lot of the prospects in this range, which is why I'm maybe more willing to reach than I otherwise would. I just feel like the Panthers need a guy who can win one-on-ones, and I think Golden can do that for them. Bryce Young has, Adam Thielen has kind of been the one guy who can kind of do that. Bryce Young was able to get a good connection with him. I want to see Bryce Young with guys who get more separation and get more separation consistently. I think Golden could potentially do that. Yeah, the defense stinks, whatever. I want to help out Bryce Young. I'm willing to reach a little bit to do that. Number 9, I don't know if this Saints have their biggest need at corner, but one thing you've probably already noticed already is I don't really pay attention to need the way other people do. I want to get the best player, and I feel like if they went for a need, they're essentially getting a player that I just don't think is as good as Barron is. And don't get me wrong, I think him and Kool-Aid McKinstry now, that's how I view their outside corners. That could be a lockdown corner duo for a decade to come. I really like both of those guys. So that's kind of what I'm seeing with that. Why not be great at something, or at least have the potential to be great at something? James Pierce Jr., again, most people are not quite this high on him. I would be willing to, I have him as a top 10 prospect. The Bears want an edge rusher. I think he can stop the run. He could be a 3-down player. He could be an 1,000 snap a year player. I think he could be really good if he lives up to his potential. So I like him there. Jahad Campbell, this one isn't crazy. I mean, let him learn with Fred Warner. Again, not the biggest position of need, but hey, this could allow him to be great at the linebacker position, which, one day, 2 years ago, part of how they got to the Super Bowl was how good they were at that position. So why not go for, this situation, let him learn in a good spot. I like this fit. Tyler Warren for the Cowboys. Again, they don't need a tight end, right? You have Jake Ferguson. They actually have a couple other guys, but none of those guys are, to me, on Tyler Warren's potential level. I think Tyler Warren can surpass them. And while there are some issues of Warren's game, I don't think I'm quite as high on him as some other people are. I don't know. I definitely don't get the idea of, don't love the going for a running back here. I think Warren's just a better player. Are there players in bigger needs that they could fill? Sure, but ultimately, I just think you're getting the best player this way. That's just what it comes down to. Again, people who like to view the draft as a way to complete your roster are going to hate this draft pick, but that's just not how I view the draft. Although in theory, maybe trading down would be the best plan, but hey, there's no trades in this one. Will Johnson at pick 13 to the Dolphins. That one I don't have to explain too much. That's actually been mocked a lot. That's one of the instances that I definitely agree with the consensus on. Number 14, I am going to have to explain a little bit. Yes, I am saying that they should draft Jackson Dart with pick 14. Is this going to happen? Absolutely not. But listen, okay, you have Anthony Richardson, you have Daniel Jones. That doesn't feel like a complete spot for the quarterback situation. It just doesn't for me. Is Jackson Dart worth a 14th overall pick? In most draft classes, I would say no. I don't view him that way. I think he's more like a late first round guy. But like I said, I don't love this draft class. And you know what? I think Jackson Dart does have potential in a good situation, which I do think the Colts are. We'll see. He doesn't have to start right away if he's not great right away, but could potentially earn a starting job depending on how Daniel Jones and Richardson do. And hopefully you could develop him into a star player. Yes, some people have Shedeur Sanders as quarterback too. We will get to him in this draft class. I just like Dart better. I just do. So again, one a lot of people will disagree with. That's totally fine. Let me know why you disagree in the comments below. Trey Amos to the Falcons. He's just the highest rated defensive player still on my board. So that again, a bit of a hot take. He's 40th on the consensus big board, but hey, I really like him. I think he's underrated. So I'm putting him at 15. At 16, now this is again kind of controversial. First, hey, everyone says, "Oh, I have blind hatred towards running backs." Here I am saying a running back should go in the top 16 of the NFL draft. So I do really like JD as a player. This is probably the earliest I would ever want a running back drafted. And part of that is, again, it's a weak class in my opinion. Now, they have James Conner. And it's kind of a weird thing where I would have considered him at 14, but the Colts don't need him. I would have considered him at 15, but the Falcons don't need him. And those guys have younger players. Connor's 29, right? And he's still got 2 years left in his deal, but you put Ashton Jeanty in there. Again, I would be a little bit more hesitant to do something like this because it is a running back, and they get less time. But maybe you do this and you trade James Conner, although I don't know what value you get from James Conner. Or maybe you just say, hey, you know what? These are two bell cow caliber backs, but maybe we just keep them fresh. Imagine in the fourth quarter, having James Conner and Ashton Jeanty going back, blow for blow, being fresh in that spot against a tired defense, that's not the worst idea in the world to me. So I think it could be fun. And of course, pairing him with Kyler Murray would just be so fun. that why not? Let's live a little and draft Ashton Jinty. Next, 8, we have, so like Derek Harmon. Again, not everyone is quite as high on him as I think I'm actually pretty similar to how people view him, but I just don't like the rest of this class as much as other people feel. But I like him. I do like him as a player. I'm a little higher on him than most. That's not true. And for Cincinnati, again, the way I think they should do this is literally just look at their big board, and whoever is the top defensive player, just draft that guy. Don't worry about anything else. Just draft the top defensive player, unless someone on offense that's really good falls to you. Then okay, you got to do it. But I think that's how they should view this, which, again, don't love drafting for need, but sometimes it's what you do. Will Campbell at 18. Again, there are people who love Will Campbell. There are people who would take him at 4. I'm just not as high on him. I'm just not. I think he could be a good guard. I think he could be a great guard. I just think there's a bit of projection there. The nice thing about this pick, though, don't even have to worry about the tackle thing. Just put him at guard. Pick 18. I actually would really like this selection here for the Seahawks, but he'll be obviously taken before then. Malachi Starks for the Buccaneers. They need a safety. Starks was also the top player on my board still at this point, so sometimes it works out. I believe he was the top player on my board, so it works out there. For the Broncos, I'm going Kenneth Grant, which, again, if you're trying to fill a roster, this is not a great pick because they aren't horrible interior defensive line wise, but I just think Grant will bring something that the other guys won't. I think he's a really good run defender, and again, how many of these guys are going to be on that roster in 4 years? Grant will be, and he'll be a solid piece for them. So, again, maybe better needs there, but I think he's the best player still available. Shedeur Sanders, 21 to the Steelers. Yeah, I have 3 quarterbacks going, and if I was controlling this, and I don't think I'm massively reaching on either of these, although, again, in a deeper class, are they first-round picks? I don't know. But for the Steelers, now, there's been a lot of talk about, are they going quarterback or not? Because what's the deal with Aaron Rodgers? But this is what I would do mock draft, and I'm not waiting around to get an answer from Aaron Rodgers. I'm drafting a quarterback. I like Shedeur Sanders more than some, less than others, obviously, which is why he's at 21. But I think he could work. And again, I think this is a solid situation. You're going to not have to score a bunch, which does help develop quarterbacks. And they do have weapons now. So, yeah, I wouldn't hate this. And Shedeur Sanders does like to give receivers chances, and he has good jump ball receivers now with Pickens, with DK Metcalf. Wouldn't hate this at all. For the Chargers, again, a lot of people are mocking receiver or tight end, but I want the best player if I can make it work, and Maxwell Harrison is the best player. The one concern I have is you already got Quentin Johnston, which is an S and then a T last name, and that didn't work out. So is the name too similar? That's the big concern. But no, in all seriousness, they lost a corner in free agency. I know they trust their younger guys to step up, but let's not rely on that. Defensive back is about depth, so let's get another guy in the building. Mike Green for the Packers. Again, Packers, such a weird team. How do you want to go with it? I don't know, but I decided Mike Green. He's one of the best players still on the board, and they could use an edge rusher as well, so it kind of works out. The Vikings were a tough one, to be honest. I don't love going defensive back here. It's a little bit of a reach for me. They could do it, but it's just a bit of a reach for me. I only have one more defensive back going in the first round, and that's at pick 30. So I decided not to go with a reach, and it's one of Gray Zabel, who I think at this point you're moving him to guard, and you're just seeing if he can work there, because you don't need a tackle. And I don't know if guard's the worst room in the league, but again, can you get an upgrade, right? Can you get the best player? Because I think if they go for a position of need, they're getting a worse player. 25 again for the Texans. So first off, let's just say Walter Nolan on that already good pass rushing defense. Really fun, really good. I like that a lot. That helps complete this team even more and can make their defense, instead of really good, potentially elite, right? Really like that. That's why I want to make this pick. Yes, I want an offensive lineman more if I'm the Texans. Look, I don't have another offensive lineman going in this draft class, and there are teams that could use an offensive line. I just don't think there's the right fit there. And if there's not the right fit, okay, get a player that's just going to, again, I think sometimes we don't do this and we should. Why not just build on your strengths a little? Why not be great at something? Well, now you can be. So I like this pick, even if maybe Texans fans won't, but we'll see. Colston Loveland to the Rams. They could use a tight end. It's not the biggest position of need, but they could use an upgrade. They're good receiving tight ends, should fit that scheme well. Not a position they usually put a ton of resources into, especially a first-round pick. But hey, I'm the one doing it, so I'm going to make that call for them. Jack Sawyer of the Ravens, just a good player, a good role player. Doesn't have the ceiling other players do, but you know what? The Ravens do like these players. The Ravens, I think they could look at Jack Sawyer in round 2 and see if something like this works. Sawyer is not considered a first-round talent. He will not go in the first round, but I think he maybe should, because I think he is, again, he does what he does very well. He also feels like a very good Eagles pick, but I don't have him going making it that far. 28 is also going to get some eyebrows raised. Actually, a couple of these picks. All these picks are getting eyebrows raised. But 28, Kyle Williams of the Detroit Lions is someone that's just an awesome fit. Again, he's not going to go in the first round. If the Lions can get him in round 2 or 3, that would be awesome. I think he could really fill out that passing attack. And I know Ben Johnson is gone, but it's going to be a similar scheme. I think he can just do so many things that would work well for the Detroit Lions. And I also just think he's a first-round talent player, basically, at least in this draft. I think he's really good, and I really like him. So definitely, I would not hate this pick. And hey, the Lions, they're not afraid to reach. We know this about them, so we'll see. Number 29, I have Jaden Higgins. I really like Jaden Higgins. He's projected to go 50th. I have a first-round grade on him as well. Now, Washington's tough. Like I said, I don't love going corner here. I just don't think it's the right time to do that. And if you're not going corner, what should Washington do? Well, again, their receiving core is good, right? Like, you have Terry McLaurin, you added Deebo Samuel, so like you have Noah Brown. Like, there's guys there. They don't need to go for receiver, but I kind of like Deebo as more of a slot guy who sometimes plays outside. You put Higgins outside, that's a complete receiving core. And again, build on your strengths, right? You don't have to necessarily win by, winning 21-18. Sometimes you can win, just, look at the playoffs. Sometimes you can just outshoot your opponents, get, more receiving help. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. I do think that they hope things break down a little bit better than this, especially because most people don't consider Higgins a first-round talent. But if you do, I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. Andrew Mukba is the next highest rated. He's one of the highest rated players still on the board. I think the Bills could use a safety, so it works out for me there. Again, I know he's not considered a first round talent, but I like him. I think he should be. 31 is Luther Burden III to the Kansas City Chiefs. But don't they need this and that? Yes, they do. But don't they already have receivers who can kind of do what Luther Burden does? Yes, they do. But the Chiefs want this type of receiver, so he will bring that to them because that's how Andy Reid operates. And I think you're getting more value that way than you are overdrafting a guard or overdrafting a edge rusher. I think we've seen the Chiefs, when they draft for need, it doesn't go as well. When they just say, let's just get Carl Loftus, who's someone who's going to be a great player. They did trade up for Trent McDuffie. That works. That tends to work well. And I think that's probably what they'll do in this draft. But if you have to pick a 31, just pick the guy who will help you. 32 for the Eagles. This is another pick where I think everyone has all of a sudden acted like the Eagles only draft like trenches in the first round. Like last year, their first 2 picks were corners. They don't only do that. Yes, they do value that stuff and they pay attention to it, but they will go other ways. They did draft Devonta Smith with a first round pick. They traded a first round pick for AJ Brown, right? They could use a third receiver. I think Emeka Egbuka could do a good job at being, honestly, he'd be a great number 3 receiver. That's an embarrassment of riches. Why not? If you can do that, I think he would help you more than a backup defensive tackle. Listen, their strategy is their strategy, but just get the best player available and it fills the needs. So I like that. But yeah, those are my thoughts on what I would do. Let me know in the comments below how crazy I am, because I know that you're not going to agree, but hey, that's part of the fun of these types of things. What is there, is there a bold take that you kind of agree with? Let me know that as well. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.